I said that together we'd make a pretty good team.
I kill your kind for a living. Pirate. Hunter.
Welcome everyone to my latest action figure review, as we're going to take a look at the Bandai Tamashii S.H. Figuarts, the One Piece Roronoa Zoro, based on the live action Netflix series, which of course is our second character to be released from this line following Luffy last month, and we know Tamashii have more scheduled with Nami announced as well. So I said this in my Luffy review, this is going to be solely based on what I saw in the series without comparing it too much to the anime. Of course, if you are watching the Netflix show, you will make comparisons, no doubt. I'll maybe touch on some things in terms of the previous Zoro figures by Tamashii, but in terms of the costume, the likeness, of course, this is only going to be compared to what I saw in the live action version. So looking at the packaging, it is very similar to the Luffy one. Of course, it is the medium-sized box due to the accessories, but in terms of the presentations, it's really nice because it has like this sunset kind of design, which gives it that relaxing mode. And they've used the live action version of the character, so the actor Makinu, which I've always preferred over like a picture of a figure. And then at the front we have the usual logo stickers. Of course, it does say Netflix One Piece. And then on the side we have the logo once again, the photo of the ship, and then this is the shot on the other side. And then the back we have the figure in different poses, and then a look at the bottom as well as the top. We get a blue navy background, and then we have the instruction manual to show you how to put on the accessories. And here is the Zoro figure inside its packaging. So here is the first look at the Zoro figure taken out of its packaging, and my first impressions, I guess it's real no surprises on how good this looks. Of course, after seeing the promo photos, I was really impressed by this one especially, and now seeing it in person for real, I would say that this is a very good representation of Zoro from what we saw in the series. So after picking up the Luffy figure, I would say that the face sculpt was at least an 8 or 9 out of 10. And this one, even if it doesn't get a 9 out of 10, I would certainly rate it at least an 8. I think they've definitely got the accuracy right. And of course, it is Zoro in his kind of classic costumes, the one that we kind of expected. Because I know if you do watch the series, they do kind of chop and change their costumes quite a lot. And they kind of mix and match the ones, even though Luffy was sometimes wearing the red and blue, Zoro was wearing like a different color, and then when Zoro was wearing this costume, Luffy was kind of wearing a different one. But I think they've made the right choice to give us these two. And looking at the design, you can see the costume, the way they've painted it, looks really nice. Very simple. I guess if you did pick up the Raidon Onigashima Zoro, that was kind of a pain to put on some of the accessories, but this one doesn't look like it will have the same kind of thing, because of course he doesn't have like a long robe. But let me quickly bring in the anime version of Zoro. You can see that it's really nice looking, but of course you had to take the figure apart to put on some of the accessories, which I assume you don't have to do for this version. One thing I noticed is this kind of strap around his waist. It is kind of movable. I'm not sure if it's just done like this so it gives him that better articulation, which I'll test out later on. But in terms of kind of first impressions, how it looks, I think it's pretty spot on to the character we see in the series. In terms of the face sculpt, you can see this is really nice. I think the accuracy is certainly there, and yeah, I'm really impressed by it. Just got the earrings as well. The way they painted the green colors, really bright. So let's test out the movement of Zoro, starting off with the head sculpt. So it can go left and right, no problem. And then round and round if you want. And then there's also side to side movement. And then downwards this much. And then upwards slightly. And there's also slight movement on the neck as well. And then for the shoulders, you can see we have all the joints here. So you can pull it down to kind of stretch his arms, and then you can push them back up, and then they move forwards and upwards, backwards as well. Good rotation going backwards and then inwards, which are quite important, especially with his sword action. There's going to be rotation on the forearm, and you can see underneath you have a rotation for the biceps as well, which I really like. And then we also have the armband and rotation on the hand, and of course a hinge as expected. And then for the body, you can see that his costume is kind of one piece, so there's no like upper torso or lower torso. I noticed that it is his plain body inside. So in terms of waist swivel, there's not much to the top half. You kind of have to move it all together. There is a lower half of the body kind of connected, but in terms of the outside, you can see it just looks like it's one piece. But you can see there is good rotation when you turn it. The lower half slightly more stiff, and then we can move it side to side, no problem. And then the body crunch is going to be slightly more difficult. It does kind of create a gap, so just be careful. Move it backwards, it does kind of create a gap as well, so you just got to push this downwards. And you can see it's got decent articulation. This one does move, as I said at the start of the video, and just be careful not to pull this too much. You don't want to break the holders. And we can kick the leg forwards, backwards slightly. Thigh rotation really smooth, and of course it does stretch side to side this much. And then forwards, backwards, and then we have a knee bend, which is something that just goes halfway, doesn't go all the way back, which I guess is okay. And then there's a full leg rotation. The foot as well has rotation. There's a hinge side to side, upwards, downwards, and a toe hinge as well. And now we can take a look at the different accessories, starting off with the different hands. So the one right out of the packaging has the closed fists. For the first set of alternative hands, we have 2 open relaxed palms. We also get a set of closed grapple hands, which of course is for his weapons when he wields his katanas. They have also included his armband, which goes onto the left side. So it's very simple, you don't even need to remove any accessories, you just slip it through to the left arm and then it connects on, giving him that extra look. And now for the main accessories, which of course are his 3 katanas. So we have 2 of them in the black color and 1 of them in the white colors. And we're first going to slip them through to the side. So hopefully this will not be as painful as the anime version, because you have to take the figure apart. This one you can see is a lot more simple, you just kind of slip them through. But at the same time, be very careful because you know how fragile these figures can be. So just slip them through patiently, try not force anything too much, otherwise you might break either the holders or the swords. So there you go. And one thing I noticed is that they've also included the swords out of them, so you can of course remove the top half, which is modeled after the anime versions. So when he's using the swords, you just take off the top to give it a different look. So they're not swords that you can actually take out, which would have been a bad idea anyways, because you could easily break them. So the only way they've done this is to do what they did with the anime versions. And here is a look at Zoro holding on to the 2 katanas, which looks really cool as a display. So I've kept the white one on because we're going to take a look at that later on. But you can see once he's wielding the 2 katanas, you can get him into many dynamic poses, which is going to look great on a display. So just take your time and play around with this. This is going to be very interesting. So the first sword is actually not one that's going to be able to hold on, unfortunately, because they've got it on a different head sculpt, which I'm going to do now. So I'm going to place the head sculpt on. And there we have the classic Zoro look, which of course is him biting onto the sword. And I noticed that you cannot remove it out of his mouth, which is kind of disappointing because I was hoping for like an alternative head sculpt with the bandana on, and kind of like what they did with the anime version. Let me just quickly show you the Raidon Onigashima one. So you do actually have this bandana head sculpt, and then you can just slip the sword into the mouth, and of course you can use the sword as well or just have him like this. But unfortunately for the live action version, they've kept it simple, and that is to have the sword not removable from the mouth, which I would have preferred if they did that. But it's still an option to have as a display, but I just wish that we had the option for the standard bandana look. And here is a bonus just in case you're wondering. I placed the Raidon Onigashima head sculpt onto the figure. It doesn't fit in terms of the connection, but you can maybe use some blue tack. But just to give you an idea of his classic look. And then we can place on the bandana version as well. And now for the size comparisons, here it is next to the S.H. Figuarts Netflix series One Piece Luffy and the Raidon Onigashima Zoro. Here it is next to the S.H. Figuarts the Raidon Onigashima Luffy and Sanji. And here it is next to the S.H. Figuarts Legendary Super Saiyan Son Goku and the Amazing Spider-Man. And here it is standing next to a Mafex Superman and Batman. And finally here it is standing next to a Marvel Legends Shang-Chi and the Jada Toys Ryu. So now for my final thoughts on the Netflix series Roronoa Zoro S.H. Figuarts. This is a great follow-up to the line, especially as it has built on the likeness of the Luffy figure with another excellent sculpt. I say if you enjoy the series, this is a must, even more so since this one has a lot more exciting poses to play around with. We have an accurate head sculpt, the katanas for all the poses, an option with the armband and also the look with the bandana. Although I must say I would have preferred the sword to be removable from the alternative head sculpt, or maybe give us a third head sculpt with just the bandana look. It's like how Luffy was lacking the laughing face, but not as bad since I think I'll mostly pose this with the original head. The articulation is good for all those poses and the swords are easy to put on, unlike the anime version, so I don't have much complaints about this one. So my score is an 8 out of 10 as this is a great representation of Zoro from the series, and as a figure I think it's better than the Luffy one. I'm now looking forward to the Nami release, and possibly they will be stopping here since they do sometimes release 3 figures from a line, but I wouldn't rule out a Usopp or Sanji to complete the team. Be sure to check out my Luffy review if you haven't already, as well as my other One Piece S.H. Figuarts reviews. Thanks for watching.